Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the next part of the series of inspirational double acts. I'm here with two very special people who have an impact on many others. Rabbi Jeremy Golker, Rabbi Hartman of Hasmonean. Rabbi Golker is the manahel or principal of Kodesh in Hasmonean, and Rabbi Hartman heads the base. So you're going to hear a variety of accents over here. I guess start just by saying what Hasmonean does, what the base does, some of the success that you've seen over the years in terms of boys and girls actually in the girls' school, but really growing, and kind of bringing their potential out.
Hartman, go on after you, please.
No, Rabbi Golker, go ahead. You're the whole school. Go ahead.
The Hasmonean is a wonderful institution. It's been going for 75 years, founded by Rabbi Schonfeld. There are over 1,200 students across both sites, the boys' school and the girls' school. And the overriding mission statement, the objective of Hasmonean is to produce young men and women who are proud and passionate and practicing Jews. And at the same time as being learned, educated, inspired, they're also very able to make their way in their society in which they live and in the world which they're going to enter. And therefore they leave school with a rounded Kodesh Jewish studies education and with a very good secular education. And we're very proud of that. And thank God, year on year, we're producing, thank God, hundreds of students who we're very, very proud of.
Right. Just full disclosure that myself and Rabbi Golker are both, alumni of the school. We look back fondly. I can see the variety in my year, actually.
Rabbi Fine, if I might add that you were the head boy, so you weren't just an alumni. You were a very prestigious alumni.
And I think Rabbi Hartman in a past life, maybe. In a previous incarnation, perhaps.
There's definitely some Hasmonean blood in there.
Rabbi Hartman, do you want to just say what the base is, what it does? It's a revolution in the school, isn't it?
The base says, in short, it's Reza de Entra, the way you say it in Yiddish, is that to prepare the boys, I'm speaking about the boys because that's what the base is about, for yeshiva and for life. And if it really boils down to something very simple, that they should have a clarity to answer the following question: what's so great about being Jewish? What's so special about being a Yid? And that's a question that it seems simple, but when you have a clarity on that answer, it will show its impact in many, many different areas of life, of understanding that we have a special relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that no other nation has, and that's what makes us unique. And that will boil down and trickle down to their individual lives and to their individual careers and whatever will happen, please God, later on in their lives.
It's beautiful. It's amazing how sometimes, we see boys, the base starts in year 11, right? So that we see boys come in year 11, and just the change sometimes in connection, motivation, and just general engagement Jewishly, as they hit year 12 and year 13, it's beautiful to see. It really is beautiful to see. Let's move on in terms of understanding teenagers in general, and then we'll talk about teamwork. We were all teenagers once upon a time, some, sooner or closer than others. What do you think is the challenge or one of the challenges in terms of how chinuch education has moved on, really?
Rabbi Hartman.
Okay, listen, my wife says I'm still a teenager, but I don't know if she means it always as a compliment, but it was just 5 minutes ago. So it's 5 minutes ago, not a long time ago. I would say there's an issue today, which is more manifested by teenagers than adults later on in their lives, but it's an issue across the board, which is what's called apathy. Apathy means that, there's a good joke that will bring it out, that someone asked a teenager, what is the problem today of teenagers? Is it ignorance or apathy? And he replied, I don't know, and I don't care. So that touches all bases. I would say that the way I see it the last couple of years, The issue is if someone is fighting against you, disagrees, that's great. Wonderful. Okay, so different opinions, let's work it out. But the most challenging aspect is if someone comes in and he's with his phone, and that's his life at this stage, and he's not against, he's not for, he just doesn't care. How do you deal with someone like that? That I would think today is the challenge that we're facing.
Yeah. To add to that, I agree with you. I think the world has changed enormously since we were in school, Rabbi Fine, and it changes at a progressively quicker rate. I think the real game changer in recent times is technology, and it's not just education. The whole world has changed. Social media, technology has moved along at such a rapid pace, and frankly, we don't even know where it's heading, and we don't know the effect that it's had on our current teenagers. I remember, just to bring out Rabbi Hartman's point, in my early years of teaching, one time, just before I was about to give shir, we've now got a new policy on mobile phones. But in those days, after breakfast, the boy was on his phone. He was sitting there ready for the shir, and he was watching an episode of Friends or some popular American sitcom. And I came into the room ready to start the shir, and he switched it off. And now I have to entertain him, and I'm competing with $1 billion industry. So that wasn't around in my day when I was growing up. So the challenges are very different. But I must say that certainly at hasmonean, and I think across the educational world, there is a tremendous talent in the staff room. There's quality teachers and people who really understand the boys, and that has also changed. So whilst the challenges have grown, the opportunities and the quality of the staff and the provision is, I think, much better than years ago.
Right. I find sometimes, just on the movie theme, that sometimes the teenagers who are kind of like caught up in this world of almost illusion or fantasy or escapism, when they are properly exposed to the real thing, something, Torah that connects to them, their real potential, it's a little bit easier then to see the difference sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're right. And in hasmonean, and I think, again, it's not just hasmonean, other schools as well, but hasmonean in the last year, we've really upped the game on this. We put a lot of emphasis on the experiential, on the informal education. We've produced a new concept called HYPE, which is Hasmonean Informal Programs in Education, where we've got fabulous young men on the boys' school and on the girls' school. And in addition, it's complementing the formal Kodesh provision. They're meant to inject a sort of a fun aspect of life in school. Hasmonean students are happy students. They enjoy being in school. Right now in lockdown, they're not enjoying it. We're delivering everything online. It's the same lessons, but they love the camaraderie, the fun. And that's very important. I know when I debrief with the shir that I give, I teach year 12 in the base program under Rabbi Hartman. And when I debrief at the end of the year, I give, shiurim, I prepare hours and hours and deliver hours of shiurim. And when I debrief at the end of the year, what did you enjoy? What was the most? They talk about the Friday night they came to my house when we have the Shabbos meal together. And they talk about Purim in my house. And I say to my wife, you prepared the meal and you made the Purim. And I sat there for months and months preparing shiurim and you win. Right? It was not fair. But I think that's the point of I find it, that they see, what do they see about that Shabbos meal? They come into your Rebbe's home. They see the beauty of a Torah home. They see the genuineness of it, the warmth, the fun, the respect. And you can't imitate that. You can't fake that.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's just move on to the last segment. The series is called Inspirational Double Acts. Let's talk a little bit about working together. So I know we have I'm privy and privileged to be part of a fantastic team in hasmonean, in the base. A lot of different characters, a real different, a nice eclectic mix. What do you think are the top tips in terms of working together? Things you've picked up along the way, working with a team, whether people who you always agree with or sometimes minor disagreements. What are your top tips in that way?
This is going to be different. Rabbi Hartman, we've never disagreed, so this is going to be a big challenge. What is it, 15 years and not a single disagreement?
I would say, if I'll take the age before beauty, I would say that the most important key is confidence and trust in your colleagues. That you know that they're good. You may disagree, which is perfectly expected, but that that deep down there's a confidence, and you know he's good or she's good at their job. They're good. They're competent. They know what they're doing. Okay, there could be different approaches, but I know for sure that whatever they're doing is not a foolishness or coming from a lack of understanding. They do have understanding, and they do have the professionalism to do it. And once that's the basis, then I think that's the most important tip, at least the first one, for a team to work together.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that fully, and there's certainly that in school. Baruch Hashem, we have a tremendous staff room, a dream team on both schools, the girls' school, the boys' school, really, which is exceptional. If I could just add that there's a wonderful essay. Rabbi Sachs's book on leadership is phenomenal, and he has one essay on Parshas Devarim where he quotes a very well-known TED talk. Simon Sinek gives a TED talk where he says, "Start with why." When you have an educational program, or you have a company or anything, the question is always start with why. What does he mean? Rabbi Sachs quotes, I think, a French poet who says that if you want to build a ship, a much more effective way of going about it is not to instruct your workmen to start collecting wood and start building, but you tell them about the endless immensity of the sea. And I think the point is that there is a shared vision amongst the staff of hasmonean. I always say, if a member of staff would win the lottery, they'd still be in the school the next day. Maybe they'll drive a different car, but they'll still be in school the next day because they're doing it because there's a passion. There's a passion to transmit, to educate, to inspire the next generation. And that's I think, shared across the board. It's a shared mission and a privilege. It's not just a job. It's a privilege to teach Torah to the future of Klal Yisrael, to the future of Anglo Jewry.
Yeah. I wonder also if the students feed off that. In other words, they see a cohesion. They see a kind of a united staff. They feel part of almost the culture.
Definitely. Yeah. I would just add just one more point to what Rabbi Golker is saying as well. That when you want a line next to you, you got to suffer the roar. Namely, you want a line, so they're not going to be yes men. They're going to be yes men. There won't be a line. Now, since the staff and the base, for sure, I could say, are lions, so each one has his own roar, but that's part of the package.
Understand.
And just one more point out what you said, Rafai. I think definitely the kids see the cohesion, but they also see the fun. They see that, when the Rabbis are sitting at the table at breakfast and there's a genuine respect between each other. Rabbi Hartman gives his Rabbis tremendous respect, stands up when any Rebbe comes along, even though the Rebbe is junior to him, has not written anywhere close to the 36 books that Rabbi Hartman has written. There's a fun, there's a simcha, there's a joy amongst the staff. And that, again, you can't imitate. The kids see that because it's genuine.
Mm. That's also...
And by the way, they also see the differences between us.
Yeah, but the respectfulness between us,
which is also good to show that there's a variety of approaches.
Right. It's also probably unique. I haven't thought about this before, actually. One of the uniquenesses of the base is that you have kind of all the rabbis and the students, more or less, are there in the same. I mean, non-COVID, whatever. They're in the same room. I don't think other schools don't really have that, do they? Apart from assembly, they're not interacting in the same way.
That's right. Because again, what we're trying to transmit to the students is that Judaism is not just Torah's emes, but it's Torah's chaim. It's not just a theology, but it's a way of life. It's a very beautiful way of life.
I would maybe add to this last point, Rabbi Fine, that you said that where it starts already working as a team, the chavrusa of the two teenagers working together to figure out the Gemara. This is, again, a phenomenon. The concept of chavrusa does not exist outside the Torah world. That two teenagers at the age of 15 or 16 are loudly trying to figure out what does the text mean. It's not in a library setup. It's not quiet. It's very noisy, and it's very alive. And they have to know how to understand each other and to communicate with each other. So that's really teamwork at a very young age.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's a very important point. Okay, look, any further points? I think we've got about 30 seconds to go. Any further wisdom in terms of tips for working together, in terms of, I guess, even like hopes for our teenage students, you know, picking up those elements of teamwork?
I would just say that to count your blessings, and I feel very blessed and very privileged that I'm working with a wonderful staff, and in particular with you, Rabbi Fein, and in particular with Rabbi Hartman, you know, who's one of the outstanding educators of the world today, without question. That we rub shoulders on a daily basis, and I consult, we speak daily. It's a privilege and it's a blessing in my life, and so appreciate that.
I really need another 3 hours to speak. If I want to say
30 seconds, Rabbi Hartman, 30 seconds.
If I want to say what I feel about working with the staff that we have on the hasmonean, I want to say maybe just to the parents, though, that when we spoke about the passion and so on, I want to go back. It's also a question of maturity that you pointed out, Rabbi Fein, that it happens a little bit later, because how do you get someone out of the apathy? That's when he starts thinking a little bit what life is about, and he has to grow up and understand that life has a lot to offer. I should take the initiative and try to see what I could do.
Beautiful. It's been a pleasure. I know you're both very busy, so thank you very much for joining us. And look, please God, you should continue to be educational superstars, and please God, continue making a massive positive impact on teenagers and beyond. Thank you so much.
I would like to tell the members of your shul how lucky they are to have someone like Rabbi Fein leading up. And Rabbi Fein is short for Feinstein. That means your next stage is God Lador, hopefully.
See you. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
All do.
Bye.